Hi and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy and I am the knitter behind Knitting Matters. And today I want to talk about baby knits. So everything that I have knit for my two children who are 10 and 6 and anything that I would recommend knitting for babies and newborns. So my job here in the UK is that I am a midwife, which is similar but not the same as a maternity nurse. So I have been working on the maternity ward since 2006. I have seen many parents grappling with the challenges of newborn clothing, and I just thought I wanted to come and talk about knitting for babies and what my experience has been. So if that's something that interests you, then just keep watching. So the first thing that I want to say about knitting for babies is knit what makes you happy. So there are lots of people who have strong opinions about what you should and shouldn't make for your children. I am not one of those people. I think it is my personal belief that knitting for children is a really important part of the bonding process and is a really important part of that transition to motherhood, especially with your first child. If you are a knitter and you are pregnant, it makes sense that you would want to make things for your baby. Make things that you enjoy, make things that you think are beautiful, and it will help with the nesting and the bonding process. And anything else I say here on in, just have that in the back of your mind. So I was knitting before I had my children, and the only thing really that I properly knit was baby clothes before that. So I was already quite set in ideas of what I wanted for my children. Now that has evolved 10 years since I had my son, 11 years since I was pregnant. So I'm going to be putting patterns on the screen that I didn't make for my children, but I would if I were pregnant again today. So the first thing, and I think the most helpful thing, the most useful thing that I made was blankets, cardigans, booties and hats. So I'm going to go through each of those and just talk about why I think they're helpful. So the very first thing that I cast on when I found out I was pregnant was this little cardigan. This is the classic baby cardigan by Debbie Bliss. This one I knit true to pattern and I used Debbie Bliss yarn for it. So I really strongly recommend knitting cardigans. There are so many beautiful patterns out there. I made many others. I'll pop in a picture in here of the little Bertie cardigan that I made for my son. That was also a beautiful cardigan. There are so many patterns. I'll try and pop a couple up here of ones that I would knit today if I were pregnant, but if I'm completely honest, I would knit this one again. I have adapted this pattern. I've got lots of notes in my notebook to change the gauge for 4-ply and for double knit and to knit it top down. But ultimately, this is the base pattern. It is a brilliant pattern and I think just really gorgeous. So the reason I think cardigans are a really good, especially for newborns, a really good thing to knit is because, I'm going to use this one because the buttons are easier, you can open them up, and this, trust me, when you see parents get babies dressed for the very first time, you want something that you can open up, that lays flat, that you can put the baby on top and wrap the knitwear around. So when you have a very, very new newborn, they don't have really any tone in their neck. It's very floppy. So pulling things over their head, although possible and doable and is fine if you know what you're doing, if you are a brand new parent, just make life easier for yourself and knit a cardigan rather than a jumper. I do like button fastenings. I don't mind snap fastenings, but I don't see how a snap fastening is any more dangerous than a button fastening. I think the chance of your baby, especially a newborn baby, taking a button in their mouth is extremely small. And if they were to take something small and plastic in their mouth, I would rather it be a button of which there is one part than a snap in which there are two. So I do not mind having buttons on baby's clothing. I always attach my buttons really securely, and whenever I put them on, my children would always give them a bit of a wiggle to make sure that they were securely attached. So I have made this cardigan. This is a recent one that I made, and I put proper buttons on it because I intend for this one to be a gift. I'm not knitting it for, my family is complete, so it won't be for me. But this one was for me, which is why I had the fancy buttons. So I would always put smooth practical buttons on anything that was gifting for anyone else. These are completely impractical buttons and I loved them, and I wouldn't change them for something that I was using on a day-to-day. So this is the newborn size, and then I think this is the 3 to 6 month size. Maybe that was 0 to 3 actually, and this one's 3 to 6. And again, I put these very impractical buttons on there that I adored. This one is made out of merino wool, I believe. Then another one in 3 to 6. I made another one. This one is made out of cotton, also in 3 to 6. So my babies were summer babies, so I thought I'd make one out of cotton, and this one has slightly more practical buttons. And then this one is 6 to 9. So both of my children use these cardigans. They both use them multiple times, and I really enjoyed them wearing them. So again, I'll try and insert some pictures of my children wearing them so that you can see how I styled them. But from any new parent, I would recommend to knit cardigans. So they were all the same pattern. I also have like teeny tiny little ones. This was a gift from my friend Claire, who's also a knitter from New Zealand. These tie, like the I-cord ties, are a really great option if you are nervous about using buttons. So this one just opens up and wraps around baby. I made a few little sets for my daughter. So this is a Sublime set, and I will again link to see if you can still find the pattern. But I really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed making matching sets, and I definitely made a matching set for this one. I know that I made the hat, and I know that I made the booties for sure. I just can't find them, but I definitely enjoyed making little sets like this, which, you know, they've got their underclothes on, you can just lay them down, pop their arms through, do the buttons up, and you're good to go. So definitely, like I said, definitely liked a cardigan. As they got older, I made ones like this. This one was for my daughter. I actually made this one in 3 different colours. I made it in a maroon colour and like a green, like a froggy green colour. Has this beautiful twisted rib detail. This is I believe it's a Sublime pattern, but it might be Debbie Bliss, but I'll confirm that and put it on the screen for you. And again, this one I used really impractical buttons. If I was making this for anyone else, I would just use circular buttons. But yeah, cardigans, really, really loved them. This one I made for my son. Beautiful shawl collar, made him look like a little old man, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So this, I believe this is the first, no, this wasn't the first time I did cables. I made my husband a cable knit jumper before I made this. But I felt like a bit of a cable pro at that point then. So yep, really beautiful pattern. And this one I made out of Rowan felted tweed. So practical, as in for me, I loved using it and I would wear it, he would wear it all the time. As you can see, the yarn is quite bobbled and worn, but I would choose a different yarn if I was gifting this to somebody else. So I would probably use a superwash merino, or no, that's definitely what I'd use. I'd use a superwash merino, probably the Drops superwash merino, just because I wouldn't necessarily expect any knitwear that I had gifted to be hand washed or on the wool cycle. Cardigans that I did gift, I gifted quite a few of the Purperium cardigans. I've forgotten the designer, but I know that she used to be a midwife. If she's not still a midwife, I'm not sure if she still is. I made quite a few of those for my goddaughter, and I made the In Threes cardigan a couple of times as well. So they were both really practical and really enjoyed them. As he got a bit older, I sort of ventured into making zippered garments for my son. This is one that he enjoyed wearing, the little foxy one. This is a Berger de France pattern. But I think my point is knit cardigans. They're really practical. They look really cute. And we got a lot more use out of our cardigans than we did anything else. I really enjoyed making sets for my children. So anytime I would make them a jumper or a cardigan or anything, I would always make a matching set of booties. Now I can't find the booties for the other cardigans that I've made, but I have definitely made them. And I'll put some examples here of booties that I have made for my children. It's a personal thing because I hate having cold feet, but I just didn't like my children ever being barefoot. So they were born in the summer, and you know, babies don't really start walking or bearing weight until they're maybe about 9 months. So for that first 9 months of their life, they always had a pair of booties. So I made hundreds of pairs of little booties, and I loved them. They wore them all the time. They had ones that matched every outfit, and I know that sounds a little bit extra, but again, it's for me, it's my time, it's my money, and I enjoyed bonding with my baby, so that's what I did. So this was a really cute little sweatshirt that I made for my daughter, and I made this one in 2 or 3 different sizes. I think I've made this one a couple of times, and the booties to match as well. So I think once they got a little bit older, once they get to a couple of months old, they're able to hold their head a bit more, and you're so much more confident getting them dressed and undressed. So jumpers aren't an issue. I loved this one. I know that she had this one from about 6 months onwards, because I remember her sitting. She would sit while she was wearing this one. And it has this really cute box pleat that I thought when she was sitting just looked adorable. So there was that one. I made a little matching blanket to go with this one as well, which... Do you know my favourite thing about when I would take them out and they would have their matching blanket with the matching jumper and the matching booties is that people would always say, oh, that's so cute, where did you get that? And I would feel so proud and be like, I made it. Sad, isn't it, the things that we find exciting? But I made lots of jumpers for my son too. So this one I made, I think this is Nil's stripy sweatshirt by Mila Mia. I will say that I don't think I ever undid all the buttons on the placket, so to me that was a bit of a not necessary step. I think if I were to be pregnant now, I would make things like the Ingrid sweater or the Storm sweater or the Sunday sweater all by Petite Knit, and I wouldn't worry about these button plackets here. And I think I'm putting 2 and 2 together here, but I think, you know, 10 years ago, the Italian cast on and bind off wasn't as popular or as well known as it is now. And I think we probably have social media and YouTube to thank for that. But a lot of the cast on and bind offs were the traditional long tail. Certainly on all the garments that I made, everything was long tail cast on and standard bind off. So I think this was bottom up, so this was the bind off, which isn't very stretchy. So I wonder if that's why there were lots of ways to make the neckline bigger, whereas nowadays you have the Italian cast on and bind off, and actually the necks stretch really far. But either way, I made this jumper for my son, and I made it in a few different sizes. This one's my favourite though. I really liked that sort of mustard colour contrast, and it was really good for using up scraps. So I would be able to get a contrast collar and cuffs, contrast ribbing and collar out of one, and then I have enough left over to make my daughter a pair of booties, for example. So really enjoyed making these sweatshirts for my son, and again I'll put some examples of sweatshirts that, if I were pregnant today, are ones that I would definitely make for my children. I will say as well, there are lots of really imaginative patterns available. So this one doesn't look so good because it's been washed so many times, but ones like this, certainly as my daughter was getting bigger, she really enjoyed wearing these sort of novelty yarn patterns with intarsia motifs on the front, which I know isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I don't mind a bit of intarsia. I actually quite enjoy it. So I've made that jumper in a couple of sizes, and I'll put in some pictures of other ones that I've made for her as well. So I think sweatshirts and cardigans are just no-brainers. They're absolutely brilliant for children. I've also made a couple of vests, or tanks. I'm not sure quite, I would call them a vest, but I think they might be more commonly known as tank tops. So this one actually was made by my friend Claire, who lives in New Zealand, but definitely a pattern that I would make if I were making for a little boy again. He wore this quite a few times, and I've just really enjoyed it. So I'll pop some pictures in here of him wearing it. He used to wear it with like a little polo. It was like a onesie that had a polo neck. It was really cute. So definitely something that I would recommend. I've also made a purple one for my daughter, and I have made like a Fair Isle style vest for my son, which I will put a picture of him in wearing it. I probably wouldn't make that again though, only because it took such a long time, because it was quite intricate colour work and he didn't wear it all that much. It wasn't, I would say, a very day-to-day practical item of clothing, so probably wouldn't do that again. I would definitely make some kind of outerwear onesie. So I know Petite Knit has a really nice one that I like, that I will put a picture in here. And I know that I've seen one in the Rowan collection as well. I can't think of the pattern name, but I will find it. At the time that my children were little, I made this one for them, which is the Sirdar snowsuit. This was knit flat and sewn together, and I remember thinking that that was really fiddly, especially around the feet. So would I make this precise pattern again? Possibly. I might adapt it to be more to have less seams, but I really enjoyed it. So especially if we were putting them in the pram or going to be going out in the pushchair for a while, I would always put them in one of these. So I've made one in blue, like this little chap on the front, and I also made one in like a cerise pink, and we have had lots of use out of those. Now if I were pregnant again now, I would probably make again the ones that I've mentioned by Petite Knit and other designers that I've popped on the screen, but at the time that I have my children, this is a definite yes. Now what I would not make is like the all-in-one rompers, or what do you call them, like bodysuits that do not have easy access to the nappy. And this one does not have easy access to the nappy, but this one is designed more as an outerwear garment rather than a day-to-day clothing. And the simple reason for that is because especially newborn babies, they need their nappy changing about every 2 to 3 hours at a push. So you're still looking at sort of 6 to 10 nappy changes a day. And what I didn't want to do as a newborn parent was to have to take everything off. So either pull everything down or to take it off completely, to change the nappy, to put it all back on again. So if it doesn't have buttons or easy access to the nappy, I was not interested. I did make a few pairs of trousers for my children. Again, I'll pop in some pictures and some recommendations that I think would be great patterns for babies. And certainly as they get older, they're a great option, but the sort of bib and brace or all-in-ones are, I think the Monday suit would be an example of one, although that does have buttons that goes all the way down the side. So I might be tempted to make one with buttons that go all the way down, but definitely not one that doesn't have openings. I just think I couldn't be bothered with that. So that is my view on bodysuits. Hats, definitely lots and lots of hats. I can only find 2 of the hats that I had made for my children. So this one matched the chicken cardigan that you saw earlier, and this one came with a wrap. Lovely, stretchy, which is what you want, keeps your baby's head warm. I would probably make the stormy weather hat by, I think it's Uverschluver. I might have just completely mispronounced that, but I'll pop a picture and a link to it. I really enjoyed bonnets, especially bonnets for my babies. I thought that they were really cute, and I knew that they weren't going to take them off. So yeah, definitely recommend hats. Yeah, I think Petite Knit has quite a few baby hats as well. Maybe the Weekend and the Oslo hat, I think, go down to baby sizes. So we definitely recommend those. Blankets, definitely recommend blankets. So I had a mixture of knitted and crocheted blankets. So you've already seen this one. This was part of a set that I made for my daughter, so really enjoyed that. I believe I've made this one twice actually, because I think I made the first one after I'd had my son, but before I was pregnant with my daughter, and I gave it away. And then when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was like, yeah, I need to have one of those in my life. So I'm pretty sure I made that one twice. Crocheted blankets. So I have personally crocheted 2 blankets for my children. So there's the alpaca hearts, I think it's called. Again, I'll pop a picture of it here so that you can see with the name underneath. And I really enjoyed the crocheted blankets, and I made a wavy chevron one for my daughter. So again, I'll pop a picture and the name of the pattern there. So really enjoyed those. They were really practical. I made them out of cotton, or my daughter's was out of cotton, my son's I think was out of alpaca, but either way they were both machine washable, which is really important for a blanket, because I would lay them down like on the grass if we were at the park, so that they could have somewhere safe and clean to sit. So I wanted to be able to wash them. Then this is one of my most beloved cardigans. So again, my friend Claire from New Zealand made me this one, and it's made out of New Zealand wool. And the reason it's so special is it's called the Midwife blanket. So if you are from the UK, you've probably heard of a TV series on the BBC called Call the Midwife, which I adored. I am a midwife. I love the TV programme. And she made me this absolutely stunning blanket, which was inspired by a blanket that was seen on the Call the Midwife TV programme. So both of my children have used this one. I was a little bit worried about little fingers getting through the little holes, but I found very quickly that actually if I put a sheet underneath it and then this one on top, or even if I just folded it, it then became very difficult for them to get their fingers through. So I used this one a lot when they were babies as well. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite like heirloom pieces, and this will, I think, stay with me until I die. So I love that blanket. And I made all manner of knitted, this one is just a rib, variation of rib. I don't know what you'd call that pattern. It probably has a name and I can't think of it. So this one was just one that I would chuck in the pushchair. Was a bit cheeky really. I went to a store that I particularly like, and I'm not sure if it was John Lewis or Mamas and Papas, but it would have been one of those two. Had a really good look at the blankets, took quite a few pictures, and then copied it. So this one is a really simple pattern. It has garter stitch edge at the bottom, and then it is stocking stitch with some garter stitch love hearts put in the pattern. So and then it has this like I-cord edge on the edge of the garter stitch. So yeah, I just copied it. And I did that twice. I did that with this blanket, and I did it with this one. And again, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether I copied it from John Lewis or Mamas and Papas, possibly one from each. But I mean, they're not complicated stitches. It's ribbing, it's moss stitch, it's a little bit of lace pattern there, like moss stitch in the middle of a star here, and again more lace pattern. So it looks a bit like a sampler blanket, to be honest, and I really enjoyed doing that. So yeah, sorry for taking the designs John Lewis and Mamas and Papas, but at the time I didn't, it felt really exciting. I really enjoyed doing it. So the other things that I have knit for babies and children in my life are toys. So I have made a few little bunnies, a few teddies. I've made some building blocks that I had for my own children, and I also gave a set to my godchildren. So I've really enjoyed those building blocks. And they have had quite a lot of longevity as well. So my daughter still plays with her teddies. I did buy a book called Topsy Turvy or Inside Out Toys that I'm thinking of making one for my daughter for Christmas. So that will be quite fun if I can pull that off. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not quite there yet. So yeah, so when it comes to knitting for babies and children, I would say use yarn that, if it's for you, use whatever you want. Use a touch of luxury, use what's in your stash. If it's for somebody else, I would recommend machine washable. And again, buttons, the same thing with buttons. If they're for you, use whatever you want, use whatever you're happy with. If you are, you know, going to be sending your child to nursery, or somebody else is going to be dressing your child full time, then use buttons that are easy to do up and undo. I do prefer buttons. As you've seen from my collection of things that I've made for my children, I have all manner of fastenings. I've got zips, I've got ties, I've got buttons, but I just always go back to buttons. I think they look nice, I think they're practical, I believe them to be safe. So I would use buttons on all clothing and I wouldn't think twice about it. I would use yarn that has a bit of softness to it. Oh, another thing, I forgot to mention when I was talking about the buttons, I've also made sleeping bags for my children, and I have loved those. They've been really practical, and I felt really secure knowing that they firstly can't wriggle out of them, but secondly that they're made out of natural fibres. So I will pop a picture in here of the sleeping bags that I made for my children as well. So yeah, when it comes to knitting for children, the yarn, I really like merino. I think that's lovely and soft. I also love the cashmere blends. So I really enjoy things like the Rowan Baby Cash Soft, the Sublime Cash Merino, the Debbie Bliss Baby Cash Merino. But I would also use things like the Drops Baby Merino. If I were making it for myself, I wouldn't worry if it was superwash or not, but if I were making for anybody else, I would always ensure that it was superwash yarn that I was using, just because you don't want them to felt it. I highly recommend cardigans, blankets, booties, hats and toys. Those would be my number one. If you feel like being a bit extra, I would go for snowsuits, sleeping bags, you know, those extra little bits. And I think when it comes to babies and newborns, that's about all I can think of. But do let me know, what have you knitted for your children? Is there anything that I'm missing? Or yeah, do let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.